Take the 6 grand, Maya, or your career's done. That's the first thing out of Ethan Rourke's mouth as he slides a cream-colored folder across the cafe table like he's handing me a wedding invite instead of a corporate execution notice. Friday morning, 10:07 a.m., corner booth at Brewline Coffee in downtown Denver. The bastard doesn't even buy me a latte. He's grinning, some smug, polished little smile that makes you want to order a shovel and bury it. He acts like he's doing me a favor, like this is charity work. A hush payment disguised as mercy. No warning, no performance review. No let's discuss next steps. Just a sleek NDA, a digital pen, and a threat wrapped in a caramel macchiato aftertaste. I don't open it right away. I just stare at the Delver Utilities logo stamped in silver italics and try to stop my left eye from twitching. You'll land on your feet, Ethan says, voice coated in syrupy concern. But you have to go quietly. The board's nervous. The board's nervous. Right there, something clicks sideways in my brain. Because I'm not important enough for a board to be nervous about. I'm a mid-level operations analyst, Excel jockey, process ghost, the woman who color codes spreadsheets so executives can pretend to read them. Not C-suite, not even close. Unless I saw something I wasn't supposed to. That's when it hits me. I'm not being let go for underperformance. I'm being erased. He's still talking, something about industry optics and graceful transitions, but I tune it out. I just record it mentally, every smug syllable. Look, he says, lowering his voice like we're co-conspirators. Sign it this weekend, walk away clean. But if you fight this, he smirks. People talk in this field, Maya. You know how it goes. That's the threat. Thinly veiled, obvious as a knife in daylight. I finally open the folder. Severance agreement. Full and final release of claims. $6,000. That's how much my silence is worth to Delver Utilities. Then my eyes catch on something buried mid-page. Clause 5. Recipient agrees not to disclose any information, documentation, or correspondence pertaining to audits, municipal projects, or regulatory submissions to city, state, or federal bodies. Oh, hell no. Ethan sees my expression. Don't worry, he adds smoothly. Legal already reviewed it. Translation, we spent a small fortune making sure this paper buries you alive. I close the folder. What exactly am I being let go for? I ask, tone flat as a dead phone line. Restructuring. He lies instantly. Budget shifts. Priorities. You know how it is. Budget shifts, I repeat, watching him twitch. His nostrils flare. He wasn't expecting pushback. But I remember 2 weeks ago when he asked me to clean up the Q2 expenditure logs for our Midwest Corridor renewal grants. It was supposed to be routine, some boring contractor adjustments. But the numbers had ghosts. Duplicate vendor IDs, triple-paid invoices, and one disbursement that somehow rounded $91,300 up to $910,000. When I flagged it, Ethan said, "Don't worry, it's reconciled upstream. I saved the original file to my cloud drive anyway, not because I knew this would happen, because I've been burned before. 6 years in utilities compliance teaches you one thing. The truth always costs more than the lie." Ethan leans in now, trying to look dominant, but there's sweat collecting near his temple. "You don't want to make this messy," he says. "Messy's bad for everyone." I give him the kind of smile women give men who follow too close in parking lots. "Can I take the weekend to review it?" He hesitates. "Sure. Offer expires Monday." "Of course it does." I slide the folder under my arm, stand, and nod. I'll be in touch. Then I walk out like I'm not on fire inside, like my stomach isn't coiled steel. He thinks it's over, What he doesn't know is that 2 weeks ago, I had dinner with my cousin, Jordan Ellis, municipal legal counsel for the city of Denver, and over pasta and wine she'd mentioned something called Denver Municipal Code Section 14.908. At the time, I laughed it off. Now that phrase hums in my skull like a loaded gun. 2 weeks before the ambush with the latte, I was sitting at my desk inside Delver Utilities' glass box office, wrestling with a spreadsheet that smelled wrong. Not literally, but you know when a file reeks of something it shouldn't. Like a smile that's too tight, or milk that's one day past the date, but everyone swears it's fine. That's how this Q2 reallocation summary felt. Off. The file came directly from Ethan, flagged urgent in all caps. It looked standard at first glance. Utility reimbursements, vendor contracts, city grant funding lines. But when I dug deeper, the formulas blinked like hazard lights. 2 identical vendor IDs. Same invoice numbers, different totals. And one subcontractor who billed for supplies 2 months before we even approved the project. Someone was playing accounting origami with public money. I checked the last quarter's signed ledgers. None of the totals matched. Then there was that cheerful little note at the top. Please scrub by Friday and re-upload for city compliance. Scrub. Not review, not verify. Scrub. That word hit me like a dirty secret wrapped in a smile. So, I did what any analyst with a functioning conscience would do. I hit Ctrl+S on the original file, made a clean copy, and stored it on my encrypted drive. Then, because I've lived through one too many mysterious server resets, I screenshotted the file path and emailed it to myself from my personal account with the subject line Recipe Ideas. That afternoon, I walked to Ethan's glass office with the spreadsheet open on my laptop. I knocked once. He looked up like I'd interrupted a nap. Hey, I said lightly, just a quick note on the Q2 reallocation sheets. There are some anomalies. Duplicate vendor IDs, mismatched invoice totals, and one timestamp that predates its purchase order. He didn't even blink. It's fine, he said, waving a hand. Legal signed off upstream. Just clean it and re-upload it. Don't overthink it. But the city might flag it. Maya, he interrupted, tone shifting to condescension. We've got coverage. Coverage. Not oversight, not compliance. Coverage. I walked back to my cubicle with a pit in my stomach. That night, I went home, pulled out an old USB stick from my drawer, the one with a cracked Captain America logo, and copied the unedited version onto it. I zipped it inside my purse, right next to my pepper spray and half a pack of gum. The next evening, over dinner, I vented to Jordan. She was 3 glasses deep into Pinot when I told her how my boss kept asking me to scrub city-funded ledgers that didn't add up. She tilted her head. Scrub, huh? What kind of errors? Duplicate IDs? Triple billing? Backdated approvals? Ghost contractors? Take your pick. Her brow lifted. City grants? I nodded. Jordan whistled softly. Maya, you ever read Denver Municipal Code Section 14.908? I frowned. No. What's that? Some boring budget statute? She grinned. Not boring. Dangerous. It's an ethics clause. If a private company takes city grant funds and tries to retaliate against or silence an employee who flags irregularities, the NDA's void, and whoever approved it can be personally liable. Civil. Sometimes criminal. It's the local version of a whistleblower landmine. I laughed. That sounds too dramatic. She sipped. Try too real. That clause has teeth. Big ones. At the time, I shrugged it off. I thought Ethan was just lazy, a climber trying to pretty up the spreadsheets before audit week. But now, sitting at my kitchen table with a $6,000 hush check in my bag and a fake smile still echoing in my ears, Jordan's words ring like a prophecy. I pull up the Q2 files again. This time, I look at them differently. Not like data, but like footprints. The anomalies aren't random. They form a pattern. Vendor IEs that differ by a single digit, same addresses, same contact names, slightly tweaked tax IDs, shells. The kind of trick you'd use to funnel public money into private pockets. They didn't think I'd notice. They thought I'd scrub, smile, and move along. The next morning, my Slack pings. Ethan R. Hey, can you swing by HR? Just a quick thing. And just like that, I know the game's on. Just a quick thing. That's corporate for bring your dignity in a to-go bag. My stomach sinks as soon as I read it. I stare at the blinking cursor in Slack for a full minute before standing up, smoothing the wrinkles out of my navy cardigan, and making the slow walk to HR like I'm heading to my own funeral. The HR suite smells like disinfectant and denial. Janine, our HR manager, is already in the conference room. Small, beige, silent. She has a yellow legal pad in front of her instead of her laptop. That's never a good sign. Ethan's there too, legs sprawled like he owns the air. Between them sits the same cream folder he gave me at the cafe. The hit order. This won't take long, he says, folding his hands like he's about to bless the meeting. I assume you've had time to review the agreement. I have, I answer, sitting down. But I have a few questions. Of course, he says, that salesman grin plastered on his face. Did legal actually draft this version? His jaw tightens. Legal reviewed it. It's standard language. Because there's a clause in here that forbids me from disclosing anything related to city-funded audits or municipal projects. You're aware that's not standard, right? Janine shifts in her chair. Her pen freezes above the pad. Ethan's smile doesn't reach his eyes anymore. It's just to protect proprietary information, he says quickly. Internal operations tied to city contracts? That's not how NDAs work, I interrupt, especially when public funds are involved. Janine clears her throat, the sound of a woman who'd rather be anywhere else. Maya, you're entitled to review the agreement over the weekend. That's standard. Ethan shoots her a glare sharp enough to slice through drywall. The offer expires Monday at 10, he mutters. I nod. Understood. And then I stand up. I'll be in touch. I don't take the folder this time. I already memorized every word. That night, I sit in my kitchen, lights dim, laptop open. The NDA glows on the screen like a loaded trap. I dial Jordan on speaker, a glass of wine in my hand. Okay, I say. Remember that municipal clause you mentioned? Section 14908? Jordan perks up instantly. Yeah, the whistleblower protection for city-funded contractors. Wait, I read her the exact line from the NDA. Recipient agrees not to disclose information, data, or insight related to company operations, including activities connected to city-funded infrastructure. There's a pause, then Jordan laughs. One short, sharp sound. They really wrote that down? Yep. Maya, that's not just stupid. That's radioactive. I don't laugh. I wait. Hold on, she says, her voice dropping an octave. Are they actually asking you to sign that, with the grant money involved? They are. Jesus. She exhales hard. If they fired you because of what you flagged, that NDA's already void. Even if I haven't gone to the city yet, it's not about what you did. It's about what they think you might do. Retaliation doesn't need proof, just intent. If they're silencing you over municipal funds, Section 14908 burns that NDA to ash. Her words settle like iron in my spine. So they're panicking. Exactly. That clause is their nightmare scenario. If you even whisper about the grant anomalies, the city can freeze every cent. And if someone in legal approved that contract, they're complicit. I glance at the check still sitting on my counter, the one Ethan pushed across the table like a threat. $6,000 for my silence. My fingers curl. Make it sting, I whisper. Jordan chuckles darkly. Oh, honey, it'll bleed. She promises to draft something for Monday morning. One line, surgical, devastating. Then we hang up, and I sit in the quiet, listening to the hum of my fridge and the pulse of my heartbeat. For the first time in days, I feel calm. Not safe, but steady. I look at the unsigned NDA, at the cheap pen marks, at the fake kindness stamped across it. Then I open a new document on my laptop, title it Documentation Log, Delver Incident, and type the first entry. 8:07 a.m. Incoming email to Delver Legal. Subject, Section 14.908. Monday morning. I don't bother setting an alarm. I make breakfast, water my dying fern, and sip my coffee like it's any other quiet day. Across town, Jordan hits send. One sentence. Subject line, Severance Agreement, Delver Utilities. Body, refer to Denver Municipal Code Section 14.908. We believe it applies. No greeting, no signature. Just a digital grenade rolled across the floor of a legal department that thinks it's invincible. At 8:13 a.m., Jordan texts me one word. Sent. 10 minutes later, my phone lights up again, this time with a screenshot from a friend inside Delver's finance team. Ethan has just kicked open the door to legal like a man late to his own firing. Who the hell is Jordan Ellis? He's shouting. Cheryl, the senior counsel who alphabetizes her post-its, answers in her dry, unbothered monotone. She's municipal legal counsel for the city of Denver. Ethan, why the hell is she emailing us? Cheryl holds up the printed email like a snake she doesn't want to touch. She represents someone, she says. Who? She didn't say. He knows. Of course he knows. He just can't bring himself to say my name. Cheryl opens the municipal code binder. Her voice cracks slightly as she reads aloud. In any case where a private entity receives municipal grant funds and a current or former employee alleges misuse of those funds, any attempt to silence, intimidate, or terminate said employee through confidentiality agreements shall render such agreements null and void. Retaliation may result in personal liability under subsection C. The room apparently goes silent. Then Ethan mutters, low but audible. This is a joke, right? No, Cheryl says. That's the moment the blood drains from his face, and somewhere, I imagine, a paralegal quietly slides her resume onto LinkedIn. I wasn't there, but I don't need to be. I can picture every flicker of panic. That twitch in Ethan's jaw when he realizes the quiet girl with color-coded spreadsheets just handed him his own execution order wrapped in municipal paper. Back in my apartment, I open my notes app and begin my ritual. 8:07 a.m. Email sent by Jordan. 8:19 a.m. Confirmed delivery. 8:24 a.m. Slack activity spike in. #legal team. 8:33 a.m. Message from Janine, HR. Hey Maya, just checking in. Everything okay? No reply. By 8:45 a.m., someone from accounting texts me. Ethan's screaming in legal. 8:46 a.m. City Controller's Office sends routine audit confirmation request. The dominoes start to fall. I stay silent. That's my weapon now. No emails, no calls, just documentation. By 9:12 a.m., Delver's CFO forwards the audit request to Ethan with a message that might as well be a death warrant. Let me know if anything needs clarification before I loop in legal. Ethan's reply. All clean on my end, all clean. The man's shoveling dirt onto his own grave and calling it landscaping. At 10:27 a.m., Slack chatter in finance goes from mild confusion to full-blown dread. Someone posts, anyone else seeing vendor payment holds on the Riverfront Renewal Project? That's the same project from the doctored spreadsheets. When grant funds freeze, every vendor account attached freezes too. No payments, no reimbursements, no bonuses. By 11:15 a.m., the panic hits the public channels. Rumors of audit anomalies swirl. Someone posts a popcorn emoji in hashtag general. Ethan bans gifts. He's unraveling. I get another text from Ashley in accounting. He just tried to shut down Slack memes and tripped over his own charger. Not even kidding? I don't reply. I don't need to. The silence says everything. Every minute that passes, Delver bleeds credibility. I watch it unfold from the comfort of my kitchen. Second cup of coffee in hand, laptop closed. By 1:42 p.m., legal's drafting internal memos. By 2:06, HR cancels all alignment meetings. By 3:17, someone anonymously posts in Hat Operations. If this is a routine audit, then I'm the Easter Bunny. It gets 32 laughing reacts. And at 4:03 p.m., the CFO sends one more email. Please coordinate response to city audit. Handle this cleanly. Cleanly. Corporate 4, we're screwed, but pretend we're not. By sunset, the whole company's pretending to work. Keyboards click, screens glow, but everyone's eyes are glued to Slack like it's the apocalypse feed. And me? I'm on my balcony, watching Denver's skyline light up, calm, steady, invisible. Because silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. By Tuesday morning, the storm is no longer coming. It's here. The routine audit from the city controller's office isn't routine at all. It's a scalpel, and Delver Utilities is bleeding from every incision. The email lands in their shared inbox at 9:01 a.m. Sharp. Request for documentation. Riverfront renewal. Project code RF 214. Please provide vendor contracts, ledger summaries, and audit trails for Q2 reimbursements. To the untrained eye, it looks harmless. To anyone in compliance, it's a death sentence printed in Arial 11-point font. RF 214, the exact project from Ethan's doctored spreadsheets. The same one with the triple-billed vendor and the missing $818,000 reallocation. I'm sitting at my kitchen counter when Ashley from accounting texts, City just froze the riverfront accounts, payments bouncing. And just like that, the panic metastasizes. At 9:10 a.m., Ethan emails the CFO. We're handling this internally. No cause for concern. The CFO forwards it to legal with a line that reads like a prayer. Looping you in for optics. By 10:22, Cheryl from legal has printed the audit request, stapled it to the NDA Ethan tried to make me sign, and dropped it on her director's desk like evidence in a crime drama. Meanwhile, the finance team's Slack channel looks like an emergency room. Miriam posts, hold notices everywhere. Someone else replies, City froze everything. When municipal funds lock up, the company locks up with them. Contractors can't get paid, reimbursements stall, payroll buffers shrink. Within 2 hours, Delver's operations department turns into a panic choir humming in unison. I make tea. I don't check email. I don't even touch my laptop. Silence is louder than a press release. By noon, HR cancels the quarterly alignment meeting. By 12:47, someone posts in general, anyone seen Ethan today? Heard legal pulled him twice. At 1:06, another message pops up. Audit expansion notice. City requesting additional ledgers. That means they found something. I picture Ethan in his glass office, pacing like a zoo animal, tie askew, sweat ghosting through his shirt. He's probably screaming at Cheryl, demanding to know who tipped the city off. And Cheryl, God bless her alphabetized heart, is probably answering with the calm precision of a guillotine. They didn't say who, Mr. Rourke. At 2:15 p.m., someone from IT messages in the internal ops channel. Heads up, external access logs flagged city IP range in server pools. Translation: the auditors are already inside the system. That's when the executives start doing what they always do when they're cornered: rewriting history. Private meetings with no calendar invites, clarification sessions, informal reviews. Every one of them smells like desperation wrapped in HR-approved vocabulary. At 3:42, an anonymous account posts in hashtag watercooler, if this audit's routine, then I'm Santa Claus. Ho ho, hold those payments. The joke gets 40 laughing emojis in under 5 minutes. By 4 o'clock, the CFO sends an all-staff message. Let's remain professional during this process. No speculation, which is corporate speak for stop memeing our downfall. Ethan finally posts in leadership announcements at 4:19 p.m. Team, as you may have heard, the city has initiated a standard audit for riverfront renewal. Please provide full cooperation and timely responses. Appreciate everyone staying buttoned up. Buttoned up. The man's bleeding out in public and still pretending he's in control. Someone reacts with a thumbs up. Someone else adds popcorn. I don't react. I don't log in. I'm done performing. At 6:07 p.m., Jordan sends me a text. City Ethics Office has logged official notice of potential interference. No sender name listed, no author tag. But I know that upload structure? It's mine. The folder labels, the file hierarchy, the template naming conventions? It's my signature without my name. 8 spreadsheets, each labeled with surgical precision. Each one showing, in time-stamped clarity, how Ethan's team faked the ledger edits. The metadata tells the story line by line. Who opened what, when, and how the numbers were changed. By 7:40 p.m., Cheryl forwards the discovery to the city auditors. At 8:02, Delver's internal chat goes dark. Channels muted. Activity frozen. The digital version of collective breath-holding. I pour myself another cup of tea. Open my window and breathe in the Denver night. They wanted silence. They're about to learn what silence sounds like when it's turned against you. Wednesday, 9:01 a.m. Sharp. The top-floor boardroom at Delver Utilities turns into a slow-motion car crash, dressed in tailored suits. No muffins, no coffee, no fake cheer. Just the stale air of fear and fluorescent light bouncing off polished wood. The entire leadership team is there. Ethan at the head of the table looking like he aged 10 years overnight. Cheryl from legal with a manila folder so thick it could stop a bullet. Miriam from finance sitting with arms crossed and jaw locked. And on the far end, Greg Thompson, board liaison and former prosecutor for the state ethics office. The kind of man whose very posture makes people start confessing things they haven't even done. Greg taps his pen against a notepad, steady and rhythmic, a death knell in miniature. Let's start with the basics, he says calmly. Ethan clears his throat, voice tight and papery. We received an inquiry from the city controller's office, routine audit. We're cooperating fully. It's, likely a misunderstanding regarding procurement timing for riverfront renewal. Stop, Cheryl cuts in, voice dry as parchment. Before we get into euphemisms, we need to address the municipal clause. She opens the folder and slides out a printed page. Section 14.908 of the Denver Municipal Code. Greg leans forward slightly, eyes narrowing. Cheryl reads aloud, and the room goes still. Any private entity receiving municipal funds shall not impose or enforce any form of confidentiality agreement intended to silence, restrict, or retaliate against an employee who raises or may raise concerns regarding misuse of those funds. Such agreements are null and void. Retaliation constitutes personal liability for all approving officers. When she finishes, she shuts the folder with a soft thwack that echoes like a gavel. Ethan blinks too fast. That clause, it's obscure, barely ever cited. Doesn't have to be cited, Greg replies. It just has to exist. But that NDA was standard. You mean the one you slid across a cafe table? Cheryl interrupts coldly, with a $5,000 bribe attached and an explicit gag order against municipal disclosure. Ethan opens his mouth, then shuts it again. His eyes dart toward the CFO like maybe he'll help, but the CFO's looking at the floor as if he's hoping it'll open and swallow him whole. Greg leans back, steepling his fingers. The mayor's office has been briefed, he says. The ethics committee confirmed the clause is active, which means that NDA's void, which means she's protected. Which means, Ethan, you're exposed. Silence, heavy, Oxygen-thick silence. Ethan tries to recover. She wasn't authorized to access those files. She misunderstood her scope. Miriam finally speaks. Did she falsify anything? What? Did she alter data? Forge documents? Create fake vendors? No, but... Then shut up, she says. Because auditing and flagging inconsistencies is literally her job. Greg turns to Cheryl. Containment? Cheryl exhales slowly. We're cooperating with the city. If we don't hand over full documentation by Friday, all grant reimbursements, citywide, will be frozen. Greg nods grimly. We'll need a board statement. Ethan shakes his head like he's underwater. She set us up. Cheryl's gaze hardens. No. She followed procedure. You tried to bury it. Every executive in the room suddenly finds the carpet very interesting. Greg's phone buzzes once. He glances at the screen, stands, and pockets it. That was the mayor's liaison, he says. They're expecting cooperation. For God's sake, don't lie. He walks out without another word. The door closes. The silence that follows feels like a funeral for Ethan's career. His hands tremble as he rubs his temples. You're all overreacting, he mutters weakly. But no one's looking at him anymore. Cheryl's typing an email to the board. Miriam's opening the finance logs. The CFO's already planning his medical leave. And somewhere, I imagine, a janitor will soon be scrubbing Ethan's name off the glass door of his office, because the quiet woman he tried to buy off just turned his NDA into evidence. Thursday morning. The email hits my inbox at 7:42 a.m. sharp. Subject line, checking in, hope you're well. Classic HR passive aggression wrapped in vanilla courtesy. Hi Maya, hope you're doing okay. Given recent developments, we'd love to connect briefly to clarify a few things. Would you be available for a quick chat this week? Warm regards, Janine. HR. A quick chat. As if the whole corporate implosion could be tidied up over herbal tea and fake empathy. I sip my coffee, scroll once more, and drop in the reply I already drafted 3 days ago. Hi, Janine. At this time, please direct all future communication to my legal counsel. Best, Maya Castillo. No warmth, no signature block. Surgical coldness. Then I hit send and move on with my morning. At 9:12, Jordan forwards me another email. This one's from cityethics@denver.gov. Subject: Policy Consultation. Invitation. Municipal Procurement Review. Body: Dear Ms. Castillo, we're reaching out regarding your insight into current procurement workflows and oversight limitations for city-funded infrastructure projects. We'd like to invite you for a brief advisory discussion to assist in improving transparency measures within upcoming revisions to Section 14.908. I reread it twice, slowly. They're not just investigating. They're asking me to help fix the very system Ethan tried to exploit. I forward it to Jordan with one line, full circle. By noon, word spreads inside Denver like wildfire wrapped in silence. Ethan's on administrative leave. The board hasn't fired him, not yet, but everyone knows it's just a matter of paperwork and optics now. The official phrasing is pending review of compliance alignment. The unofficial version, he's radioactive. Ashley DMs me privately. They're calling for a full audit, every grant, every vendor. It's chaos. I don't reply. What's there to say? The fuse is already lit. That afternoon, Denver's internal Slack channels start dying like unplugged Christmas lights. #leadership goes quiet. #finance disables uploads. Operations changes its name to temp chat. Everyone's either deleting old messages or pretending to be in meetings for hours at a time. Even the VP of Ops, who once posted selfies from leadership retreats with Ethan, changes his profile picture to a gray silhouette. That's how corporate self-preservation smells. Bleach and silence. By evening, local watchdog blogs start picking up whispers. One headline reads, City Ethics Audit Targets Major Utility Vendor, Section 14.908, invoked for first time. It doesn't name names, but it quotes the clause word for word. Someone in City Hall wants this story public. Meanwhile, inside Delver, the panic morphs into paranoia. Cheryl sends a mass email at 7:28 p.m. Please compile all communications related to the riverfront renewal budget, including drafts of the severance agreement offered to Maya Castillo and all HR correspondence tied to said matter. City Ethics has requested full transparency prior to their advisory meeting. Translation: they're not circling wagons anymore. They're tearing them down for parts. I picture the boardroom right now. Cheryl at her laptop, typing in that detached legal rhythm. Janine pacing with her notepad clutched like a talisman. The CFO quietly deleting calendar invites from his phone. Ethan somewhere at home, refreshing his inbox every 30 seconds, watching his empire crumble one notification at a time. He once told me I didn't have the look for leadership, said I had analyst energy. He wasn't wrong. I am an analyst. I just analyze better than he ever realized, especially when the subject is his downfall. At 9:33 p.m., Jordan sends a final text before bed. City Ethics moving forward. Expect formal invite tomorrow. I close my laptop, pour a glass of Merlot, and step out onto my balcony. The Denver night hums beneath me. Steady, indifferent, honest. Across the skyline, Delver's glass tower gleams like a confession booth. Somewhere in there, the man who threatened my career with $6,000 and a smile is discovering what real exposure feels like. And me? I'm just watching, calm and quiet, with every receipt tucked neatly where it belongs.